Welcome to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications. Now, let's dive into the Holiday Heist, a story that proves sometimes the best souvenirs are the ones that involve sweet, sweet revenge. Alison Carey sat in her cramped studio apartment, scrolling through Instagram and watching her former best friend, Jessica, post photos from what was supposed to be Alison's dream trip to Italy. The pictures showed Jessica sipping wine in the exact Tuscan vineyard that Alison had discovered through months of research, staying in the boutique hotel that Alison had booked after reading dozens of reviews, and eating at the hidden gem restaurants that Alison had found through her travel blogger contacts. Every single detail of Jessica's spontaneous European adventure had been stolen directly from Alison's meticulously planned itinerary. 3 months ago, Alison and Jessica had been planning to take this trip together. As a travel blogger with 50,000 followers and connections throughout the tourism industry, Alison had spent 6 months researching the perfect 2-week Italian adventure. She'd reached out to her network of travel contacts, secured press rates at exclusive hotels, arranged private tours of hidden gems, and even gotten them reservations at restaurants that were normally booked months in advance. The trip was going to be the foundation for Alison's new travel guidebook about off-the-beaten-path Italian experiences, and she'd planned to document everything for her blog and social media channels. But 2 weeks before they were supposed to leave, Jessica had suddenly backed out. "I'm so sorry, Ali," Jessica had said, looking appropriately disappointed. "My boss just told me I can't take the time off. The new client project is more demanding than expected, and I'm the only one who can handle it." Alison had been devastated. She'd already paid for most of the trip expenses and couldn't afford to go alone, especially since many of the special arrangements had been made for 2 people. Worse, it was too late to find another travel companion or to cancel without losing significant money. So Alison had stayed home while her dream trip went unused, watching her carefully planned itinerary go to waste. Or so she'd thought. Now, 3 weeks later, Jessica was posting daily updates from Italy, visiting every single location on Alison's original itinerary and staying at every hotel Alison had booked. She was even using the same hashtags and photo captions that Alison had planned to use for her own posts. But the real betrayal was revealed in Jessica's latest Instagram story, where she'd posted a video of herself at a wine tasting saying, "I'm so grateful to have discovered all these amazing hidden gems through my own research and local connections." Alison stared at her phone in disbelief. Jessica was taking credit for Alison's months of work, pretending that she'd discovered these locations herself and building her own social media following by posting about Alison's carefully curated experiences. Even worse, Jessica had apparently brought along her new boyfriend Marcus, the same Marcus who had broken up with Alison 6 months ago, claiming he needed space to figure out his life. Alison felt sick as she realized the full scope of Jessica's betrayal. This hadn't been a last-minute work conflict. Jessica had been planning to steal Alison's trip from the beginning, probably with Marcus's encouragement. They'd deliberately waited until it was too late for Alison to make alternative arrangements, then taken her dream vacation for themselves. But Alison Carey hadn't built a successful travel blog by giving up when things got difficult. If Jessica wanted to play games with a professional travel influencer, she was about to discover that Alison had connections and resources that went far beyond what Jessica could imagine. It was time for some creative vacation planning of her own. Alison's first move was to contact her network of travel industry friends in Italy. As an established travel blogger, she had relationships with hotel managers, tour guides, restaurant owners, and local tourism boards throughout Europe. These connections had taken years to build and were based on mutual respect and professional collaboration. Jessica, on the other hand, was just another tourist with a stolen itinerary and no understanding of how the travel industry actually worked. Alison started making phone calls. "Ciao, Marco," she said to the manager of the boutique hotel in Florence where Jessica was currently staying. "This is Alison Carey from Wanderlust Adventures blog. I need to tell you about a situation involving someone who's been impersonating me and using my travel arrangements fraudulently." Marco was immediately concerned. Hotel managers took identity fraud very seriously, especially when it involved travel bloggers who could influence their reputation and bookings. "Alison, this is terrible. What can we do to help?" "Well, this person is currently staying at your hotel under arrangements I made. She's been posting on social media, claiming to have discovered your property through her own research, and she's been taking credit for the exclusive experiences you arranged for me." "This is unacceptable," Marco replied. "We value our relationship with you, and we cannot allow someone to damage your reputation or ours through fraudulent behavior." Alison had similar conversations with contacts throughout Italy. The vineyard owner in Tuscany, the private tour guide in Rome, the chef at the exclusive restaurant in Venice, all of them were horrified to learn that someone was fraudulently using Alison's professional arrangements and taking credit for her work. But Alison's masterstroke was reaching out to the Italian Tourism Board, who had been collaborating with her on a series of promotional articles about undiscovered Italian destination. "Ms. Carey, this is a serious matter," said Isabella Romano from the Tourism Board. "If someone is fraudulently representing themselves as a professional travel blogger and using your industry connections, this could impact our entire influencer program." "I completely understand your concern," Alison replied, "and I want to make sure this situation is resolved in a way that protects both my professional reputation and the integrity of Italy's tourism industry." Within 24 hours, Jessica's picture-perfect Italian vacation began to fall apart in spectacular fashion. It started at the Florence Hotel, where Jessica and Marcus were suddenly informed that there had been a booking error and they would need to find alternative accommodations immediately. "But we have a reservation," Jessica protested, "and we've already paid for 3 more nights." "I'm sorry, Signora, but this reservation was made fraudulently using another person's identity," Marco explained politely but firmly. "We cannot honor bookings made under false pretenses." Jessica's confused social media posts from that evening showed her and Marcus frantically searching for last-minute hotel rooms in Florence during peak tourist season, an expensive and stressful experience that was nothing like the seamless luxury she'd been documenting. The next disaster struck in Tuscany, where Jessica had been planning to do a private wine tasting at the exclusive vineyard that Alison had arranged through her professional contacts. "I'm sorry, but you are not Alison Carey," the vineyard owner told Jessica when she arrived. "Ms. Carey is a respected travel journalist who has written about our region. You are simply a tourist who has been using her name fraudulently." Jessica tried to argue, but the vineyard owner was unmoved. Not only was the private tasting cancelled, but Jessica and Marcus were asked to leave the property immediately. Jessica's Instagram story from that day showed her crying in frustration, claiming that there had been terrible miscommunications with local businesses and that her trip was being ruined by unprofessional service providers. But Alison's favorite moment came when Jessica tried to use the restaurant reservations in Rome. "We have a table reserved under Carey," Jessica told the hostess at one of Rome's most exclusive restaurants. "Ah, si, for Ms. Alison Carey, the travel writer," the hostess replied. "But you are not Ms. Carey." "I'm traveling with her," Jessica lied desperately. "No, Signora. Ms. Carey contacted us personally to inform us that someone was fraudulently using her name. She provided us with your photograph and asked us to document any attempts to use her reservations. The hostess actually took a photo of Jessica, which Alison later learned was being shared among Rome's restaurant community as a warning about reservation fraud. Jessica and Marcus ended up eating at a touristy chain restaurant near the Colosseum, exactly the kind of generic experience that Alison's careful planning had been designed to avoid. But Alison wasn't done yet. She'd been documenting Jessica's fraudulent posts and had built a comprehensive case showing how Jessica had stolen her itinerary, used her professional contacts, and claimed credit for her work. Alison decided it was time to tell her side of the story. She created a detailed blog post titled "When Friends Steal Your Dreams: Travel Blogger's Story of Vacation Betrayal." The post included side-by-side comparisons of her original itinerary and Jessica's posts, screenshots of Jessica's lies about discovering locations through her own research, and testimonials from Italian tourism contacts about the fraudulent use of Alison's professional arrangements. But Alison's masterstroke was revealing the full timeline of Jessica's deception, including the fake work excuse and the coordination with Marcus to steal Alison's trip. The post went viral within hours. Alison's followers were outraged by Jessica's behavior, and the travel blogging community rallied around Alison with supportive comments and shared experiences of similar betrayals. More importantly, the post was picked up by several major travel websites and social media accounts, bringing the story to a much wider audience than just Alison's followers. Jessica suddenly found herself at the center of an internet controversy, with thousands of people calling out her fraudulent behavior and demanding that she give credit to Alison for the trip planning. But the real consequences came when Jessica's employer saw the viral story. As it turned out, Jessica worked for a marketing agency that specialized in travel and tourism accounts. Her boss was not amused to discover that one of his employees had been engaging in fraudulent behavior that could damage the agency's reputation with travel industry clients. Jessica was fired within a week of returning from Italy. Marcus, meanwhile, discovered that dating someone who had become internet famous for lying and stealing wasn't great for his own reputation. He broke up with Jessica shortly after the story went viral, claiming he'd had no idea about her deception, though Alison's followers weren't buying his innocence. But Alison's favorite outcome was the response from the travel industry itself. Several Italian tourism organizations reached out to invite Alison on an all-expenses-paid trip to Italy, specifically to document the authentic experiences that Jessica had falsely claimed to discover. They wanted to work with Alison to create content that would showcase the real stories behind Italy's hidden gems. The trip was everything Alison had originally planned, and more. She stayed in exclusive properties, experienced private tours that weren't available to regular tourists, and met with local artisans and chefs who shared their personal stories and family traditions. But most importantly, Alison was able to create the travel guidebook she'd originally envisioned, complete with insider access and authentic local connections that no amount of stolen itineraries could replicate. The book became a bestseller, and Alison's blog following doubled as people discovered her talent for finding truly unique travel experiences. 6 months after Jessica's disastrous Italian adventure, Alison was featured in Travel Plus Leisure magazine as one of the year's most influential travel bloggers. The article highlighted her commitment to authentic storytelling and her extensive network of local connections around the world. Jessica, meanwhile, had started a lifestyle blog focusing on home organization, apparently deciding that travel content was too risky for her brand. When Alison ran into Jessica at a coffee shop a year later, the encounter was awkward but revealing. "Alison, I owe you an apology," Jessica said, looking genuinely embarrassed. "What I did was wrong, and I'm sorry." "I appreciate that," Alison replied. "But Jessica, what you did wasn't just wrong, it was stupid. You tried to steal something you couldn't possibly replicate because you didn't understand how it actually worked. I know. I thought travel planning was just about finding pretty places and booking hotels. Travel planning is about relationships, authenticity, and understanding local cultures. You can't steal that. You have to earn it. Jessica nodded. I learned that the hard way. The trip was a disaster after the first few days, and I realized I had no idea how to actually travel like you do. Plus, you destroyed your reputation and your career for a 2-week vacation. Yeah, that wasn't my smartest decision. Alison almost felt sorry for Jessica, almost. But then she remembered the months of work that Jessica had tried to steal and the betrayal of their friendship for the sake of some Instagram photos. Jessica, I hope you've learned from this experience, but what you did to me was unforgivable, and I'll never trust you again. I understand. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. As Jessica walked away, Alison reflected on the past year. The betrayal had been painful, but it had also led to opportunities and connections that she never would have found otherwise. The travel industry's support had opened doors that would have taken years to access through normal channels. Plus, Alison had learned valuable lessons about protecting her intellectual property and being more careful about who she shared her professional plans with. But most importantly, she'd discovered that the best revenge wasn't destroying someone. It was building something so successful that the betrayal became irrelevant. Jessica's stolen vacation had lasted 2 weeks. Alison's career success would last a lifetime. 2 years later, Alison was leading exclusive small group tours through Italy, sharing the same hidden gems and authentic experiences that Jessica had tried to steal. But now, they were part of a legitimate business that provided real value to travelers who wanted to go beyond the typical tourist experience. Alison's Italy guidebook had spawned a series of destination guides, and she'd become a sought-after speaker at travel conferences about authentic travel experiences and building genuine local connections. She kept a framed photo from her redemption trip to Italy on her desk, not to remember the betrayal, but to remind herself that sometimes the best adventures come from the worst setbacks. Jessica's attempt to steal Alison's dream had actually led Alison to a bigger dream than she'd originally imagined. And every time Alison received a message from a traveler who had discovered an amazing local experience through her recommendations, she smiled and remembered that authenticity couldn't be stolen. It could only be earned through genuine relationships and real expertise. The Holiday Heist had backfired spectacularly, and Alison had ended up with something much better than revenge. She'd ended up with a career built on integrity, relationships, and the kind of authentic travel experiences that no amount of stolen itineraries could replicate. Sometimes, Alison reflected, the best revenge was simply being so successful that your betrayer became a footnote in your success story. Thanks for listening to today's story of love, life, and betrayal. For more free stories and entertainment from our channel, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe with notifications.